Okay, sometime in the process of bobbing your little Suzuki here, we want to maybe remove the gas tank to either paint it ourselves or send it out. So anyway, I'll go ahead and show you how to take the gas tank off. It's pretty simple. The main thing you want to do is just be really careful because gasoline's extremely flammable. So I like to have the bike either outside or in a well-ventilated area, and it doesn't hurt to disconnect your battery and even have a fire extinguisher handy just in case. So be real careful on this. Okay, the first thing we want to do is we want to disconnect the gas hose from the carburetor. Make sure that your fuel petcock is either in the on position or reserve, not on the PRI or prime, because if it's on prime, then what will happen is when you take the hose off, the gas will pour out. So make sure that it's on the on or reserve position. And then you want to go ahead and just pinch this little clip and slide it out of the way, like that. Just pinch it with some pliers and it'll, relieve itself. Go ahead and work your gas line off, like so. There's no gas coming out. Okay, go ahead and just, get a gas can and build it up on boxes or something and put it into the gas can. And then if you move this to the prime position, your fuel petcock, the gas should come out. I've gone ahead and I've emptied this tank ahead of time. So now one word on this, the way the fuel petcock works on these motorcycles is they have a vacuum valve underneath here, and it works off the engine vacuum. So what happens is when you start the engine and the engine's running, it creates a vacuum which lets gasoline run into the carburetor. But as long as the engine's shut off and it's not running, the vacuum switch stops the gas from going into the carburetor. So when that is on the on or reserve position there, it should not let gas out. Now if it does, you probably want to replace that vacuum switch that's underneath the petcock here. So anyway, that's just a little quick word on how that works. So anyway, go ahead and drain that gas tank really well, and then we'll be right back. Okay, our next step on removing the tank is to let's go ahead and chalk up the rear wheel, because you might want to keep the bike from rocking back and forth as you're trying to get the tank off, because if it rocks too much, it could come off the kickstand and tip over. So I would chalk up the rear wheel, and then go ahead and put your fuel petcock back in the either on or reserve location there. That way it'll keep the gas from sloshing out a little bit that's left over. Okay, the next thing we want to do is remove the speedometer cable. It's really cool on these Suzukis because it's basically this big fat cable right here. So go ahead and just unscrew this where it goes into the motor right there. Just go ahead and unscrew that. You have to start it out with some pliers. And it just lifts out like so. So undo that. And then the next thing we want to do is, let me raise this up a little bit. Okay, there's the vacuum line that we talked about earlier that goes to the switch on the other side, the petcock. This is the line right here. It's got this metal coil over it. We want to go ahead and pry that off the carburetor there. I've done this ahead of time, so there's a little clip there. You can just squeeze it with some pliers and then go ahead and just pry that vacuum line off like so. There it is. And then I like to go ahead and shove that through the other side. Go ahead and push that through the other side, because when you remove the tank, you'll want to have it out of the way. So go ahead and do that, and we'll be right back. Okay, our next step is to go ahead and, what I like to do here is I like to pop these little chrome covers off the handlebar clamps. You can just stick a little teeny screwdriver in there and pop those off. That exposes these Allen bolts. Anyway, I like to loosen these Allen bolts and rotate the handlebars up and out of the way a little bit. You can raise them up pretty tall there. You want to do that because when you're trying to get the tank off, if your bike, the handlebars turn over, they might dent your tank when the tank's kind of up in the wrong position there. So go ahead and loosen those and just rotate your handlebars up out of the way. And then the next step, we are going to go ahead and take these two bolts out of here. I've removed this one. This is the seat hold down here. It's right in the back of the tank. Just go ahead and remove those two bolts and lift that off. And that exposes the back of the tank. And that should move up and down now. So go ahead and do that, and we'll be back. Okay, we should be able to lift the tank off. So here's the vacuum line. It's out of the way. So we're on this side. Fuel line's out of the way. I think now if we just go ahead and just kind of have to lift the tank up and kind of pull it toward you. it kind of releases it under the frame there. So go ahead and pull that toward you, and then it should just kind of back it out, and you should be able to lift it off. Okay, now we'll get it to that point right there. Okay, if you'll notice that the wires, slide your tank back. Okay, you have the one connector here. We'll have to undo that. It's kind of tricky. You may have to put a little screwdriver and pry each side just a little bit because it's probably been sitting for a while and it's stiff. So go ahead and undo that. And we should be able to take the tank off and send it out to paint. So now's a good time. We'll go ahead and send the tank out to paint along with the both fenders. I like to do both fenders at the same time. Anything else you may want to paint too. So go ahead and do that, and we'll continue on. Okay, I'll show you how to take the fuel petcock and the speedometer cluster out of the bottom of the tank here. Let's see, I'll go ahead and I've loosened these screws, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. Pull it out gently, because there's the filter. It'll probably be a little gucked up. Make sure it looks real nice and it doesn't have any tears or anything in it. Now the one thing you want to do is check this O-ring down here. If that's smashed or old or looks kind of ugly, go ahead and replace that. You can probably either get it from like a Suzuki dealer or go on like Bike Bandit, OEM parts. If you Google it, you can pull up the different suppliers. I would go ahead and replace that O-ring because you don't want the gas tank to leak when you put it back together. And then also make sure that the paint around here is nice, and if it isn't, go ahead and make sure it's nice and smooth around where that O-ring goes later on. It's real important that that O-ring seals around that area right there. So check that out, and then we'll go ahead and pull the speedometer out next. Okay, the next step is to go ahead and remove the speedometer cable. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and film this so when you put it back together you can see how it goes. The long black section is right here. So anyway, go ahead and unscrew that from the speedometer cluster down inside there. Take that out. Okay, and then the last thing you want to do is there's some 5/6, I think that's a 5/16 nuts down inside there. I just use like a handle. Just go ahead and unscrew it. I've done these ahead of time so you can see how it goes. But anyway, go ahead and take these three nuts and the springs and stuff off. And then your speedometer should just come right out of the front of the tank. So we'll check that out, and then we'll be back. Okay, and there we have it. There's the speedometer. And what I like to do is I like to go ahead and put the springs and the washers and stuff back on, just so you don't lose them. So let's go ahead and put those back on there, and then we will continue on.